Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Myth Busting Locksmith. Now today I would like to bust the myth on bump keys. Bump keys are a fantastic tool. I love them. They are my go-to entry system, and I will go to them every single time, first of all, because I've been very successful with them. That said, I have been practicing with them for about 4 years, and I have been working with them for about 3 years. So I have learned the technique, and I have learnt the good points, the bad points, and I've ended up with many bleeding knuckles. Now, to start off with your bump keys, you will need a selection of bump keys. I have 16 here, and we will come to the different types and why there are so few. You need a bump hammer. Let's do it like that for you, for obviously hitting the end of the keys. And of course, trusty GT85 spray every time for lubricating your lock before you go anywhere near it. Now, of course, you'll understand the principle of the bump key. You take your key, you put it in the lock, you go tap, tap, tappity tap with a bump hammer while applying gentle pressure, and then the cylinder will turn and the lock will unlock. Or if you want to lock it for whatever reason, the lock will then, in theory, lock. Now, without stating the obvious, you have the cam in the middle here, and when you bump it open and you twist the key round, as you can see, the cam goes round and engages the lock. Now, one of the things I would mention at this point is with the higher end security cylinders, and I have one here, locks like this. This is an Ultian WXM 3-star, very nice locks. Some of these in the range of Brissant and Ultian specifically have been designed that if you bump it open, the cylinder will turn around, but the cam will not engage the lock. The cam has a little gap like this at the end. The key goes in, and when you twist the key, it twists the cam, and the cam will come round and lock or unlock your door. But what Ultian and Brissant, and I'm sure other manufacturers have come up with for high-end security, is they have designed it so that when you bump or release the cylinder, the cam will not engage. So, on this one particular, the Brissant E, what I have done is I have put two keys together, and one of these you'll notice has got no teeth on. Now, we will come back to this shortly, but I have put together, and I would advise you to put together, a selection of as many different keys as you can find that you no longer need, and shave off all the teeth, like I have here. And then, if you come across a lock that you have bumped open and released the cylinder, and the cam is not engaging, you simply work out which one of these will fit your lock, put it in, twist it round and engage the cam and unlock the lock like so. Now, the myth I would like to bust today is every locksmith that I've heard talking about bump keys says you need hundreds or thousands of bump keys. They go, you need this and this and this, and they pile great big bunches on and they say this is what you need. This is a myth. You do not need that many. I've got a box that's just off screen here, in fact it's here, and I have literally got about 40 or 50 keys in here, and I haven't tested them yet. This is full of keys for dimple locks, and I have not tested a single one of those. So as yet, I have a box of 40 keys that I haven't even used. I haven't come across a lock that needs them, and I haven't come across a lock that they fit in. So as much as there will be locks out there that I haven't tried yet, I have a box of 40. I haven't used them. What I have done though, is I have tried and tested all the 16 here, including the little bunch here, which I have engraved with how many rings or springs they need to open the lock. Now, when we talk about rings and springs, we're talking about the little rubber things like this. These are little rubber rings, or the most popular ones that everybody knows are the little orange ones, and they simply pop on the end of your key like this, and then the key goes in the lock and you hit it with your bump hammer until the lock is released. Now, when I say, and I stress the point that we are trying to bust the myth on needing hundreds or thousands of keys, and the fact that I have a box of 40 I've never used, my collection of 16 here has opened all of these locks. There are 34 different types of lock here. There are 6 padlocks, including rim cylinders. This is a Yale 1-star, rated 5 out of 5 security. I did it in less than a minute, and there is a video on YouTube somewhere of me doing it. This one is an era lock, very simple, took me about 10 seconds. This one took maybe 30 to 40 seconds, and again, one bump key straight in. Other locks took a little longer. Thumb turns I find quite tricky. This was a bit of a tricky thumb turn, and it's quite heavy duty. This also, again, I find with thumb turns, they are a little less keen to open, but still, they are very easy to do. Now, what I found absolutely shocking was with the Gatemate, which is a big, heavy, solid, long cylinder, 50, 70 and 80 mil cylinder, big, thick bolt. They are such low quality, or the bump keys are so effective, that you can effectively, and I've done this so many times in practice, you can literally release the lock just by giving it a wiggle. And there we are. You see, we have it. Well, we had it then. Now, I'm not even bumping this. I'm literally just wiggling this in the lock. And there it goes. It started to turn. It's a bit jammy, but as you can see, it's already started to turn. But I think this is just a little bit stiff. And there we go. So even just like that, giving it a wiggle in the lock, not even bumping it, we are able to open and close this lock. There we go. Opened and closed. Very simple. Now that's not even bumping. Not using a bump hammer, not using JT85 spray, just shoving the key in the lock. But I've also been able to open all of these locks. So not only the 34 here, the 6-pad locks, but I've also been able to open these locks with 16 bump keys, including a small bunch here. And the two that I've come across where I opened it, the Brisant E, which I've created a separate one here, with one with teeth and one with no teeth. There is the video, as I say. I bumped it open with the Brisant E, I then got the one with no teeth, I put it in, I engage the cam, I open the lock. I've done that with 2 different ones, and I have a selection of keys here with no teeth, but 16 keys. Did all of this, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 22 locks this side, 34 locks this side, 6-pad locks. So I would like to bust the myth in a short and sweet video and say you do not need hundreds, you do not need thousands of keys for the various locks. I grant you this is a small selection, but of course I've done many more at the door. You saw how easily a big lock like this was done, just wiggling it, so they can be very effective. But the other thing I have found is these keys will not just open one lock. This will do one, this will do one. This I've marked because it will do a certain type of thumb turn and it will do Mila. This will do a thumb turn, it also does ASEC. This will do 2 different types of Yale lock. This does my own brand of locks, it also does CES locks. This does about 3 different types, and this one does 2 different types because it does the Yale solid bronze anti-spark non-conductive padlocks, and it also does the Yale cylinders. So a lot of the times, if these keys fit in the cylinder, it will, or the keyway, it will unlock that lock. It doesn't have to fit perfectly. It doesn't have to have a key part filling every groove or space in the lock. If it fits in the lock nice and simply, it is guaranteed almost to open the lock, but it does take practice. It takes lots and lots of practice. And you will find many of these keys fit in many of the cylinders. Some might be too short, some might be too long, some might be too fat, but you will find that if it's the right length and it fits in the lock with the right technique and the right speed and the right hammer and GT85 spray and loads of practice, it will open the lock. So my advice would be ignore all the videos that get these big piles of keys like this and say this is what you need to even start, because I just think they're putting you off. I think they're trying to dissuade you from joining Locksmith land, and I think they're trying to put people off from practicing. I don't know why, it seems silly. What I would suggest is get a professional bunch, get a universal bunch, and maybe go on to somewhere like Amazon, just get a generic, cheap and cheerful bunch. That is how this one started. and I think a couple of these came off. Generic bunch off Amazon, start you off, maybe have 20 keys on it, maybe cost you £20–30. But from there, get a profession's bunch which got about 30 on, and get a universal bunch that maybe has about 30 on, and then you've got about 70 or 80 keys, and that will do you for everything you are likely to come across. You just have to practice and practice and practice. And once you open one, dissect it, take the pins out, have a look at the pins, have a look at the cam, which is this black part in the middle of the locks here, and just see what you can learn, what you can find out, and what will help you practice. Because at the end of the day, all these locks are very different, but they are all very similar. And as you can see, the keys are all very similar, so you do not need a large collection. So I would like to bust that myth. And for all the locksmiths out there that are going to jump on their keyboards and start criticising the fact that I don't know what I'm talking about, or you do need hundreds of pounds worth of keys, well, challenge me. Send me a lock. I will show you how fast I can open it. I will show you these 16, I will show you the box of 40, and I will go through and show you how many keys I can use to open how many locks that I have in a collection, or what you send. Because at the end of the day, you do not need piles and piles of keys. That is a myth. I am busting it right now. All you need is a small selection of keys and lots of practice. So as always, thank you for watching. Please do leave comments below. Please do subscribe if this is something you like watching. And if you have any questions, please send them to me. I'm always happy to answer questions. I will always answer as soon as I can, which is within 24 hours. And any other queries or things you'd like to see, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. See you next time. But there's another myth busted.